Hey guys, welcome back to Last Word Sports. Sorry it's been a while, but yeah, I'm back. Listen, I'm a Jags fan. There's been nothing to talk about the last 2 years. They've been absolute doo doo. Anyways, but yeah, I'm like I said, I'm a Jags fan. So in this revival, I'm going to be mainly focusing on the Jags. But with that said, I might cover topics that interest me. Things like the Anthony Richardson benching, the trade of Micah Parsons, things like that. Probably won't cover those now because they're kind of old news. But things like that might happen at the NFL season, I'll probably cover as well. But for the main part, this is going to be a Jags channel. So anyway, let's get into it. I think everybody knows Liam Cohen is now the head coach of the Jags. Doug Peterson's offense was stale. Not a lot of motion. There was not a sense of creativity. It was go and run my playbook, which I get. If you have Patrick Mahomes, if you have Josh Allen, you have Lamar Jackson, these guys that can, produce and make something out of nothing, and have good O-lines and good receivers, I get that. But the thing is, when you have a team that is deficient of talent like the Jacksonville Jaguars are, you have to be creative. And so when you look around the league, I think there are certain offense coaches that were creative. Ben Johnson was not devoid of talent, but he was definitely the most creative offensive coach that we saw last year. And then on the other side of the coin, you also have Liam Cohen, who I would say is probably the second most creative offensive coach of last year for the Buccaneers, who, yes, he had a very talented offensive team, but it wasn't as talented as the Lions. When you look at the receivers, you say Hall of Famer Mike Evans was there. Chris Godwin, was a Pro Bowl receiver. Both guys went down for probably about half the year, and Cohen had to find a way. Something Doug Pearson never did. He was like, how do I create offense when I'm missing my best players? And so he focused more on running with Bucky Irving, getting the ball to Rashad White and Cade Otton, and what's that? Jalen McMillan. Unfortunately, he's out for the year this year, though. But anyway, he found other ways to get the offense going. And he actually talks about it in an interview. Great watch if you want to. Go watch that. So you instantly upgrade at coaching. At GM, I'm not sold on James Gladstone. Did not like his free agency. His free agency, I felt like, was a D-, if not an F. Horrible free agency. Draft-wise, it was okay. I liked the Travis Hunter move. The picks after that were kind of mid, in my opinion, but we can talk about that later. But first of all, we can kind of dive into this season outlook is what this video is going to kind of be. So kind of talk about coaching. I think Cohen, slam dunk hire. He was my second choice behind Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson was the belle of the ball, the best coaching candidate out there this year. I think he could have gone to the Jags. They fired Trent Baalke earlier. They didn't do it, so they got Cohen. That's a great consolation prize, in my opinion. So Liam Cohen is the coach. I think the hiring of Grant Udinski as the offense coordinator has a lot of potential. You have new blood in there who is also familiar with the Sean McVay tree because he worked with Kevin O'Connell. That is a good heritage, if you will. So they have that going for them. On the defensive side, they have Campanile, who I'm not 100% sold on. He's a very raw guy, and I think that's very good for a defensive guy, but I want to know he's got the Fangio, mind for it as well. Not saying he runs Fangio's system, but I want a defense coordinator who's not just the amped up guy. I want him to have exotic blitzes. I want him to have disguised coverages. I want, a little bit more to it. I don't want Gus Bradley. Anyway, so that's the coaching. Now, let's get into the roster. As far as defensively, I think next year we're really going to... I want to take this video to really look at the roster and kind of say, like, what can we already kind of tell we're going to need next year? I know you're like, well, season hasn't started. What are you talking about? But I just go with me. One of the reasons why I did not like the free agency is because they did not improve the safety room at all. You say, oh, they added Eric Murray. He was a starter for the Texans last year. Eric Murray's like 32 years old, 30 years old, whatever, and he was let go by a Texans team that he doesn't let go, but he left the Texans team. They're letting him walk. He was a role player for them. He was nothing really that great. from what I heard, he was like he's okay. He's gonna give up a touchdown every now and then, but um, he's okay. And I was kind of hoping for more than that. I think there was a lot of guys you could have gone after. I don't have them in front of me right now, but there was a couple of guys that I was more interested in. Not the premier guys, but I think there was for a few million more. The guy the Colts got from the Vikings, I forget, but it was only a few million more that we would have to pay. And in my opinion, I would have just paid that to get a solid starter there. And then on the other side of it, I think our starting safety is going to be Dewey Wingard across from him. Dewey, listen, I love Dewey. Great special teamer, great backup safety. When he's there in a spot, he's great. I don't want him to be our starter. And also, here's the thing. I know people hate on Darnell Savage, but, like, let's be real. I feel like Darnell Savage was dealt a bad hand. If you go back and watch some of the games and a lot of things, he had a lot of bad-looking plays, but then he had a lot of plays where it seemed like he was the only one who wanted to be there. And so I actually think that Jags still have a starting-level safety in Darnell Savage. I did not like the signing of Darnell Savage. I was very much against that. But after watching the year, he was a little bit more physical than I actually thought he was going to be. But anyway, I think he'll end up being the starting safety in probably like week 4. It'll be like Savage and Murray. I wish Ransall was healthy, but he's out for the year now. I was looking forward to seeing him because I actually think Caleb Ransall was the gem of this draft. Didn't know about him, went back, watched him, especially Senior Bowl. If you're interested in watching Ransall at safety, go watch Senior Bowl stuff. He was fantastic. So anyway, that's my outlook on the safeties. I think we're going to be looking for at least one new safety next year. I think we're going to look back in the season like, man, if we had a safety, this deep play wouldn't have happened, or blah, 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 all that jazz. At corner, I'm a little concerned at corner because Tyson Campbell is a walking injury. He's okay. Listen, even when he's healthy, he's okay. He gets picked on a lot when he's healthy. Let's be real. We treat Tyson Campbell like when he's healthy, he's a lockdown corner. He's not. He still gets picked on. So he's I think he's a good number 2 corner in the NFL. I think he's a good number 2 corner. So with that being said, though, he's basically our number 1. Because we got Jarrian Jones at the other corner, who Jarrian Jones we have not seen play outside corner. We've seen him at nickel. He was a fantastic nickel. But the thing is, we've not seen him at outside corner, and now we are depending on him to play corner. We were depending on him. Something else happened in that area, though, because we drafted Travis Hunter. And I think Travis Hunter he's going to play both sides, I get, but I think he's also a break glass in case of emergency. Because I think if it's not working out with Jarrian outside or if Tyson gets injured outside, you got Travis Hunter to slide out there. At nickel, though, they're going to be playing Jordan Lewis at nickel, also outside. And here's another thing where I was just very aggravated by the free agency because you got Eric Murray, who, like, the Texans let walk. He was not worth that much to them. He's old. He's not even like an Eric Weddle good old. Like, he's just old. He's not that good. He's not worth the money that you're going to be. I know we're not paying him a ton, but. And then you go and sign a nickel corner when you already have a top tier nickel corner in Jarrian Jones. I would have just saved that money, allocated it towards a good safety, and then drafted a corner, which they ended up doing anyways. But. Jordan Lewis at nickel with Jarrian and Tyson outside. I think Travis Hunter really helps that room in case of an injury. But if Travis goes down, you're down a wide receiver and corner. God forbid. So I'm a little concerned about corners. I think we might be looking for a new one next year. So that's just a storyline to watch. Whether it's because Tyson's just too injury prone or Jarrian just can't hold up outside and he's more of a nickel. And if that happens, guess what? You're kind of stuck with it because you sign Jordan Lewis. You can't just trade him. So now you have 2 nickels trying to figure out how to fit this square peg into a round hole. Linebackers, I think Oluokun gets a lot of credit for honestly not much. He's the cleanup guy. I'm not a big Oluokun fan. I know Jags fans treat that like heresy. But if you watch it, he never gets guys behind line of scrimmage. I grew up watching Telvin Smith. I know we're not supposed to speak that name, but Telvin Smith was a great linebacker for the Jags. Paul Posluszny, great linebacker for the Jags. And these guys would hit you behind the line of scrimmage. There's so many explosive plays where runback would get out there and boom, right on the toss to the left, tackled right behind the line of scrimmage. Big loss, 4-yard loss, whatever. Oluokun doesn't do that. Oluokun is there 4 yards past the line of scrimmage and stopping him. And that's why he racks up tackles. He's a cleanup guy. He's not an impact linebacker, in my opinion. Devin Lloyd, we've been waiting for the Devin Lloyd breakout year. I mean, right now I'm at the I'll believe it when I see it. I'm not a believer right now. I hope he does break out, but listen, he hasn't shown it, and I think it'd be like blind optimism to be like, no, this is Devin Lloyd's year. He hasn't shown it, so it is what it is. Muma is gone. Muma was bad. I thought Muma might kind of turn out to be like the is it Logan Wilson, the linebacker from the Bengals? I don't know, one white linebackers. I was like, oh, maybe he'll turn out to be the gem of that draft. Did not. So he's gone. Ventrell Miller. I think Ventrell is almost like a Shaquille Quarterman, a little bit better than Shaq Quarterman. He's a good run defender, good thumper, not good in pass coverage. And then Jack Kaiser. I think Jack Kaiser might end up being one of the starters a few games into the season, because if you go and watch preseason, the dude is pretty good in coverage, and he is great at disguising blitzes. I feel like Campanelli's really going to like him. I think he's going to kind of implement him in those blitz packages. If Devin Lloyd's just not getting there, I think we might see a Aluakon Kaiser linebacker duo at some point, maybe by like week 8 or something. So that's linebackers. Edges, I think Trayvon and Josh are going to have really good years, because I think they're going to have more interior pressure than last year. I think last year Eric Armstead got really a bad rep because they played him at end, but if you watch the defensive tackle reps with him, he was in the backfield or putting pressure on the quarterback, I would say a lot of the time when he was rushing from the inside. And now he's going to get to do that full time, and he's been working on this offseason. I'm not the typical guy to buy into that, like, oh, he's been killing it this offseason. But the thing is, he was miscast, and he had something to prove. So I'm actually believing in Eric Armstead, as weird as that sounds. I'm believing in him to have a good year. Maybe not the numbers, but the impact he's going to have. So I think he's going to have a good year. Mason Smith, it's almost like a Devin Lloyd of like, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm not expecting anything from Mason Smith. I don't think you should. If something does happen, let it be a pleasant surprise. But I'm not expecting anything from Mason Smith. I didn't see it in college, and I haven't seen it so far in the pros. As far as behind them, Devon Hamilton, I mean, he's a trash can full of dirt. Like, try not to move him, but he's not going to do much else. He's okay. I like Austin Johnson. I think he is a quality depth defensive tackle. And then also the guy that Colin Saunders they traded for from New Orleans, I look forward to seeing him as well. I think those are just quality guys, so the rotation isn't as bad as it was last year. On the edges, I really like having Ogba and Gardeck as your kind of depth edges. I know Gardeck is outside linebacker, but I really like that because and Smoot. I forgot about Smoot. Ogba and Smoot, I think, are really good edge guys to be your secondary. I feel like that's a starting edge group that the Jags would have rolled out, 5 years ago. But having that be your depth edges, Ogba is a solid veteran pass rusher, and Smoot was killing it in the preseason. I think both those guys are gonna be really good for the Jags to finally have a depth pass rusher, not named Arden Key, right? So I think this is actually gonna be a good year for the Jags D line. I think having that internal pressure is going to have the quarterback stepping back more for the edges to get that production going. I also like having BJ Green and Strigal on the roster. I'm sure they're good special teams guys, but also you look around the league, and especially the Rams and all these other teams, you kind of see these guys who you never heard of. If you're watching a game randomly and this guy you never heard of gets a sack, I feel like that's never the Jags. And so to finally have these undrafted guys come on that can just be, 2-3 sacks a year guys. I know it doesn't sound great, but when they're your third pass rusher, I mean not third, but third string to the right end or whatever, when that's your sixth pass rusher on the team, that's pretty good. So I'm looking forward to having that. So that's the defense. So now to head over to the offensive side, I think wide receivers, I'm so excited to see wide receivers. I think this system is going to be perfect for them. I think the usage of wide receiver screens, as well as going deep, shallow crosses, motion, I think all that perfectly suits BTJ and Travis Hunter. Really nothing more to say there. BTJ killed it with wide receiver screens last year, and he has the ability to go deep. And Liam Cohen talked about this as well, is he has the ability to go deep. He has the ability to kill you on the screens. And then he also has the route running ability to kill you over the middle. I think BTJ is going to have a fantastic year, and I'm looking forward to it. Travis Hunter, it's kind of same skill set. He's not as fast as BTJ. He's not going to beat you deep that much, but he's just got explosive steps and is so quick. I'm looking forward to seeing Travis Hunter. He's going to kill it on the screens. He's going to kill it in the mid range. It's going to be so good. Diami Brown, he'll just be an end around gadget player. He can also beat you deep, so it won't just be BTJ as the only. We've seen many times where we're like, oh, we have a deep threat, we're good. But the thing is, when that's the only deep threat, the safety's going to shade over there and he'll never get open. But now you have two guys who are good deep threats, and Travis Hunter isn't slow, and he's fantastic at contested catches. So if Trevor throws it up there, Travis can go get it. But Diami Brown and BTJ are deep ball guys. They have that speed, so I could see them lining up with one on each side and just kind of having a go route for each of them to see who the safety goes to. Anyway, after that, Parker Washington, I think, is actually going to have a quietly good season. I'm going to say like 700 yards from him. Kind of similar to the Jalen McMillan year last year for the Buccaneers. I think Parker Washington is going to have a very similar year. I think he'll be a really good slot receiver for us. And then, let's see. I like the addition of Tim Patrick. I think he's just a solid receiver. I don't expect much from him, but he's a good blocker. And I think even on play action where they think, oh, the blocking receiver's out here, he can still beat you in a pass situation as well. I mean, he was a great receiver for the Broncos, 700 yards for like 2 consecutive years, got hurt, and then got to the Lions. Did well for the Lions as well last year, so I look forward to seeing that as well. Tight ends, Brenton Strange I think is going to actually have a really good year. Not when I say really good, I don't mean like Pro Bowl, but he's going to finally. I was not a fan of the pick when it happened, but I think he's going to at least provide a red zone threat. I think when he's out there, it's not an automatic run or automatic pass. I think it does allow for a more play action friendly offense, which is what Liam Cohen runs. So I'm excited to see that. I expect 6 to 8 touchdowns from him. I think that's a reasonable expectations because you've already seen that connection between him and Trevor in the red zone. So backup tight ends, I like Hunter Long. I liked him in college, so I'm excited to see that. Johnny Munt, good blocker. Not much else there for tight ends. I'll go running backs first. Running backs, Travis Etienne, I think is if he stays on the team, I think he can have a good year. He really doesn't have the vision. Etienne, he has burst, he has the speed, but he just doesn't have the vision, and it really hurts. If you look back at guys like James Robinson that really had that, it really put them over the edge over. Leonard was a good running back. I liked Leonard a lot. He actually improved in his vision through the years, but there were some years where Leonard just didn't see the hole like James Robinson would. So I think Etienne might get moved some point through the year. If not, I expect him to have like a Rashad White situation year where it's like a solid year, and I expect him not to be on the Jags next year. Tank Bigsby, I think Bigsby is probably the most misfortunate person in this equation because I think he's probably the best running back in the bunch in the sense of running, but he doesn't really fit this system. I still think you keep him because he's just too good with the ball in when the ball is in his hands. You see him in the preseason take that little dump off screen, 20, 30 yard, whatever it was. And I think you got to use that. If he can just work on his hands, not fumble, not drop the ball. But yeah, I think Tank Bigsby is good. I hope he stays on the roster because I think he brings something the others don't. Tootin, I don't know what to tell you about Tootin. I mean, we'll see. I think he's got explosive ability. This is why, I feel like Tootin and Bigsby would be a good duo, and that's why I wouldn't mind moving off of ETN if there's a running back injury in the league. If somebody offers enough, I'd move ETN and just have Tootin and Tank as my main 2 running backs. And then that brings us to LaQuint Allen, who I really like. LaQuint Allen coming out of college, I thought he's just a solid running back. And he's a good pass catcher, good pass blocker, probably a good special teamer. So, yeah, I think all 4 will probably be healthy on game day. I don't really know how that works, but I like all 4 of them. But I would expect to see ETN moved at some point just because of contract. So, yeah, that's the running back room. And then the offensive line. So, I am a kind of a Walker Little stan just because I feel like every time that he's come into the game, he's done his job. And then we've always taken the starting role from him really with no justification. Like, oh, Cam Robinson's back, we're going to take it from him. It's just like, why? He was playing well. well, we're paying Cam a lot. Okay, but like Cam's contract is up in a year or two. We have Walker for 3 or 4, and he's younger. Why not just move Cam? But it took us a while. We finally moved Cam Robinson and stuck with Walker Little. It took him long enough. But I think Walker will have a solid year. I don't think he's not a Pro Bowl All Pro guy, but I think Walker Little is a good left tackle. I think he's good enough as a left tackle. He'll be fine. Left guard Ezra Cleveland. I'm really interested to see because it feels like this regime doesn't want Walker Little. It feels like not Walker Little, Ezra Cleveland. It feels like they don't want Ezra Cleveland. It feels like they wish they could replace him, but he's having apparently a really good camp and a really good preseason. I will wait to see. I think Ezra Cleveland is very athletic. He's really good at pulling and getting out in front, but he's not a mauler. If you need that 1 or 2 yards, I have not seen Cleveland be able to move the guys. So we'll see how that goes, but it wouldn't surprise me if even he gets moved at some point because it sounds like they really want Wyatt Milam to kind of float in there and be the left guard. I know he's hurt right now, so I think they stick with Cleveland. He's apparently been really good in camp and preseason. This regime I feel like really wants to move off of him. So just keep an eye on that. At center we have Robert Hainsey, who I think he's an okay center. It would not surprise me, guys. Would not surprise me if Jonah Monheim is your starting center by like week 8. I think he had a fantastic preseason. I really liked him in college. If you watch the Senior Bowl clips, he gets kind of worked there in the one-on-ones because centers are not for one-on-ones. Centers thrive in the team blocking assignments. And if you go watch his film, he did pretty good. He's not like a huge thumper mover, but he's a smart, athletic center. He's played every position on the O-line in USC. So I look forward to seeing him. He might become the starter at some point, but until then, I think Robert Hainsey, from what I heard, he's been good. But I don't know. Anytime Jags get this kind of, backup O-line from another team that's like, oh, but he would be a starter on most teams, and we get him. He's like, okay, I think of Jeremy Parnell from the Cowboys, who was he was a solid starter, but he was good for at least one false start a game. So. So that's my thoughts on the center position. Right guard, I really don't know what to tell you. Makari, Ravens fans were kind of like, he's okay. So that's another situation where we picked up the scraps from another team. He can play every position on the O-line. I hope he's good. Maybe he will be. I also wouldn't be surprised if at some point Milam replaces him. But we'll see. And then right tackle, I think Anton takes a leap this year. I think he'll be a good right tackle for us. He had a good rookie year, kind of softened last year, but I think a lot of players took a step back. So this is the year for him to take that step forward. I think he will. I think Anton Harrison will be really good for us this year. I think it's the year for him. One thing I want to stress about this O-line is if you look at the starters, which I just named, and then you look at the backups, we have Edoga, we have Milam, we have Cole Van Lanen, we have Jonah Monheim. All these guys are position flexible. Edoga competed for tackle as well as guard. Monheim played tackle and center in college, and he played guard and center in the preseason. Cole Van Lanen played tackle for us last year. He played guard for us last year. And who's the last one I mentioned? That's Edoga, Monheim, Van Lanen. It doesn't matter. But all these guys, they have that position flexibility. Oh, did I say Milam? Milam played tackle at college, but they're wanting to play guard in the NFL. So they have the ability to fill in if if there's a guard or tackle that goes down. You now have guys that can step into those roles because they're able to. It's not like, oh, we're going to flip our guard out to tackle. He's not really used to that. It's like all these guys have played that. So that's really intriguing and a nice addition that the coaching staff and front office did. Anyway, then we're going to go to the quarterback, finally, Trevor. So here's the thing with Trevor. We have not seen a full good season from Trevor yet. I know that one year that he had 22, where we went to the playoffs, beat the Chargers. I thought he was okay starting the year. I actually liked him. People said that he had a bad start to the year. I thought it was just conservative. He was making the smart play, and as the season was going on, he was getting his confidence. He was kind of taking that hero ball mentality, which really gets him into trouble a lot. But anyways, so he was kind of taking that. So we have not really seen a full good year from Trevor. And people say he got 2 coaches fired. And then but when you look back, Urban Meyer was probably the worst coach in NFL history. Doug Peterson, he won a Super Bowl. Okay, the team that he won the Super Bowl for fired him. And then he got here, and we fired him as well. Doug Peterson, I mean, we could rehash that whole thing. I really don't think it needs to be. Doug Peterson's not going to work as a head coach in the NFL ever again. I think that's all you need to know. Liam Cohen, if it doesn't work out here, he can get an OC job somewhere else and be a head coach again. Doesn't matter. Doug Peterson's never going to coach in the NFL again. He's a bad coach. His offense is no. Anyways, Trevor, I think this is the year for Trevor. I really hope he stays healthy. I don't want a year where it's kind of, man, I don't want a Daniel Jones year where you're like, do we really want to throw everything we have behind this guy? We kind of have to because we paid him. But I really want him to prove us right this year and show that, hey, he can be a franchise guy. Will he? I think he can have a Baker Mayfield similar year where I know Baker had like a career year last year, but if you ask people to name top 10 quarterbacks, they might exclude him. He might be like 12 for them. And that's kind of the year I expect in Trevor. I don't expect him to be the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson this year. I expect him to be in that 8 to 12 area. Be Dak Prescott. And I know you guys are like, not Dak Prescott. Well, Dak Prescott, he's not. I know he's not great. I really want Trevor to be better than Dak Prescott, but I think Dak Prescott with this team would definitely go to the playoffs. And so that's my hope. I think Trevor will have a good year. I think this offense allows him to get easy reads. This offense is so creative in creating plays for the quarterback and the players instead of the players creating plays for the team. I know that sounds weird, but I'm trying to say this coaching staff has sauce. It has the ability to create something when you have nothing. And that was something the last coaching staff was missing. So I think it's going to give Trevor a lot of easy reads. There's going to be times when we're down by 6 and we have to go drive down the field with a minute and a half left and you're reduced to your 2-minute playbook and there's not a lot of creativity there and he's going to make some big boy throws. And that's when we'll have to see, is Trevor the guy? As far as the season outlook, guys, just one thing more I want to reiterate is the schedule. This is a tough schedule. I mean, especially the first half. I wish it was reversed because I think there's going to be some growing pains in terms of learning the offense. So let's look at this. I mean, first game is Panthers, and you say, well, that's an easy dub. I mean, Panthers aren't that good, but they're thinking the same thing about us. So let's just say that's a win. All right, let's say we beat the Panthers. Next week against the Bengals. I'm going to tell you right now, we're not going to beat the Bengals. All right, I hope we do. I don't know, but we're still. If you saw the preseason games, you saw we don't have a firm grasp on the offense yet. So let's just say 1-1. All right. Then we play the Texans. Have we really proven that we can beat the Texans? You can say, the Texans are going to fall off. They showed the decline. We're going to beat them this year because we're on the ascend, they're on the descend. We have not shown that yet. CJ Stroud, and you say Trevor's better than CJ Stroud. If Trevor was in the situation CJ Stroud was in last year, you would be making the same excuses as in offensive line was bad. His weapons were hurt. His offensive coaching was bad. Guess what? All 3 of those were true. And I still think their offensive line is bad. Don't get me wrong. Their weapons are a lot better this year. Nico's healthy. They got Christian Kirk, who's okay, but they got Higgins and Noel. And their offense coaching should be better. I don't know. So let's just say 1-2, because I think they lose to that team. For right now, with what they've seen, they haven't shown us enough for us to say that they'll beat the Texans week 3. And then you have 49ers. That could be a potential loss. We always lose to the 49ers. They always wreck us. This one's also, I think, on the West Coast. And then we play the Chiefs. Do I need to say anything more? So that's, what was that, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we play the Seahawks. And the Seahawks are going to be a tough team. You say Sam Darnold's a quarterback. I get it. He was pretty good last year, though. And that it's not just the quarterbacks you play. That defense is going to be scary. The running backs and wide receivers are not bad. I mean, Smith and Jigba's pretty good. Kenneth Walker's pretty good. So I think that could be a loss, too. And then the Rams, that's going to be a tough game. It's in London, but still, the Rams, that's tough. So that's one, two, three, four, five, 6 losses potentially in a row. We could be 1-6 going into to play the Raiders, which is not an easy game. Geno Smith is a good quarterback. Genti is a good running back. Pete Carroll is a good head coach. You're going to tell me that by then the Raiders won't be a little bit figured it out too? But we could potentially be 1-6 facing the Raiders. Now you could say, I think they'll beat the Texans, or they have a shot against the 49ers. They're not what they were. They have a shot against the Seahawks, or the Rams in London. You're right on all those. But I'm just saying temper expectations, because this is a team that had to learn the offense all offseason. And I really wish the easy teams were in the beginning so that we could get a few wins under our belt. And by the time we reach the experienced good teams, we have kind of gotten that comfortability. So I think the second half is really when the run's going to have to come. I'm not going to go through that, but just to keep you guys aware, don't fall off the bandwagon at the beginning. I can see a ceiling of 10-7 or a floor of 7-10. So that's my thoughts on this year, guys. If you like, I don't know, hit the like button, subscribe, share, all that jazz. But yeah, go Jags, Duval.